Hello from the Dukascopy TV studio in Geneva. We're talking about the new Twiplomacy Study, and we have Matthias Lüfgens here from Burson-Marsteller. Welcome to the studio, Matthias.
Hello, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
So what is the Twiplomacy Study about, and what are key findings this year?
So the Twiplomacy Study, which is the contraction of Twitter and diplomacy, is a study which is in its fourth year, and we're looking at how heads of state and government, international organizations use Twitter. We're looking, especially for the heads of state and government and the foreign ministers, as not who has the most followers, that is interesting, but who is connected with who? Who's following another world leader? And so we looked at 660 Twitter accounts of world leader, heads of state, heads of government, their personal Twitter accounts and their institutional Twitter accounts, and the accounts of foreign ministers. So it's really interesting to see how they create a virtual diplomatic network on Twitter.
And so we have some of the key findings here. Can you walk us through them?
Yeah, so the key findings is this year 85% of the 193 UN governments have an official Twitter presence. 172 heads of state and government have personal Twitter accounts. If you look at the G7 leaders, 6 out of the G7 leaders have a personal Twitter account. The only one who does not is German Chancellor Angela Merkel. We have 100 foreign ministries with an official Twitter presence and 67 foreign ministers. So Twitter has become the communication tool for diplomats. If you look at embassies, we have an embassy list with over 4,000 embassies and ambassadors on Twitter in New York and Washington and London. Embassies have to be on Twitter to be part of the digital conversations. And even the Chinese mission in Brussels has a Twitter profile.
And so you really compared the different world leaders. And so let's face it, who is the most successful, most influential world leader?
We don't do a top 10 ranking, but what we can say is that French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius is the best connected. He has the most mutual following with his peers. He's mutually following 100 other foreign ministers, foreign ministries and world leaders. In second position, very interestingly, the Russian foreign ministry has made a conscious effort to reach out to peers, to other world leaders, to create this mutual connection. Because when you're connected, when you're following each other on Twitter, you can direct message each other. And I know it happens, these foreign ministries are sending each other private direct messages on Twitter. In third position, the French Foreign Ministry, very well connected. The European External Action Service, and in fifth position, on the same level as also the Lithuanian Foreign Ministry, the Foreign Ministry of Norway. So you can see it's a great tool for smaller countries to really tweet eye to eye with the bigger countries and with the big leaders. So. Because, of course, we do capture who has the most followers, and we all know that is Barack Obama. This data is from March. He had 56, almost 57 million followers. He's been on Twitter since 2007, very early on. In second position, Pope Francis, Pontifex, has 9 different language accounts with 19 million followers. And in third position, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who really used Twitter during the election campaign and since his election last year in May has continued to grow. Very interestingly, fourth position, the President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, with 6 million followers, but very interestingly, he even banned Twitter in his own country just before the municipal election in 2014. And the White House now in fifth position. So these 5 world leaders have one thing in common. They've found Twitter a formidable broadcasting tool to masses. I mean, if you look at Barack Obama, he has more Twitter followers than the combined circulation of the US newspapers. But that doesn't mean that he is the most effective, because we also looked at the number of retweets, the average number of retweets per tweet. And here you can see the Pope is by far the leader. When he sends a tweet on his Spanish account, he gets, on average, 9,929 retweets, almost 10,000, which is extraordinary. In terms of retweets, he is the most effective. In second position, the King Salman of Saudi Arabia, he started out when he was Prince Salman, and when he became king in January a couple of tweets had massive retweets, over 200,000, and he even doubled his followers from 1 million to 2 million. So very effective there. In third position, the president of Venezuela with 3,000 to almost 200 retweets on average. Of course, you can gain these figures. You can buy retweets. So, you know, but I don't think the Pope does. I do think he is seriously effective. And then fourth position, Barack Obama, and once again, Narendra Modi, both, of course, have large followings.
Very interesting. So let's follow the next slide. This means about conversational.
So who's the most confident? How are you conversational on Twitter? If you start a tweet with an @ reply, this is kind of a private public reply. In order to see those tweets, you have to click on tweets and replies, so not everybody will see them. Here, Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, is very, very conversational. When he takes to Twitter every now and then, he just chats with his followers and direct messages them. He is not broadcasting. So 86% of his tweets are @ replies. 3/4 of the tweets by Erna Solberg, the Norwegian Prime Minister, also replies to her followers. She's discussing things on Twitter, mainly in Norwegian, unfortunately. So it's, you know, not everybody speaks Norwegian. Very interesting about Erna Solberg. She does it personally, and she does it despite suffering from dyslexia. So there are a couple of spelling mistakes sometimes in her tweet, but, you know, she will continue to write her tweets herself. And I think, you know, kudos to her. She's really one of the best Twiplomacy Twitterati, I should say.
And so it makes also the tweets really authentic, I would say.
Absolutely.
And
that's important. You know, looking at Paul Kagame, you don't have to, he doesn't tweet every day. He tweets when he has time, he sits down, answers a couple of questions very personally, and it really comes across as very personal. So I think those examples are really, really interesting.
And as we all see, small countries, so they can even have an impact on the social network.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So the next slide is on
we also looked at which are the accounts most followed by all these 660 heads of state and heads of government, and we found it's actually the UN, the United Nations account is most followed by 250. Then Barack Obama, the White House, the State Department, number 10, you know, and very proud of this figure, the Twiplomacy account, our small little Twiplomacy account has 153 heads of state and government following the account. So we're connected on Twitter, and I actually did DM, direct message these heads of state and government to offer the latest Twiplomacy study as an advanced copy to our followers, which is a really, really interesting communication tool. And then we're ahead of the New York Times, UNICEF and Reuters, so I'm really, really proud of that, that figure, I have to say. A little
congratulations.
Boasting about it a bit.
So let me just ask you about in general. So the Iran talks in Lausanne have been publicized first by Twitter, or the outcome of these talks. So does this mean that Twitter is now finally become an official alternative news source for world politicians?
Absolutely. I do think now, if you want to communicate quickly to a large audience, you will use Twitter as another channel. It might not replace, you know, emails and press releases, but it is one of the fastest and, you know, most interesting communication channels. Look at Hillary Clinton. She announced her 2016 presidential election bid on Twitter with a link to her website. So she did not give any TV interviews, no other media interviews, just a 140-character tweet. During the Iran talks in Lausanne, it was really interesting. So they dragged on, and you could follow the negotiations through the Twitter accounts of the negotiating partners. They had also made sure that no one would scupper the talks with a tweet that would go against it. So very interestingly, they really controlled the communication coming out of the talks in Lausanne, posting pictures of the talks. The journalists were waiting outside in the corridors, but, you know, you didn't even have to be in Lausanne. You could be, you know, at our desks and just following the tweets. Very, very interesting how they really really made sure there were no leaks, and they then at the end, you know, the hashtag Iran talks were transformed into the hashtag Iran deal with, you know, Federica Mogherini announcing the deal and then everybody else commenting on it. So I think it was really interesting to see how we were given the chance to participate in the negotiations without the negotiation partners, the diplomats, giving any secret information away. So I think it was really was a masterpiece in external communication through Twitter, of course.
And so Twitter is really here to stay, also in political outreach. Matthias Lüfgens, thank you very much for this exclusive presentation of the new Twiplomacy study.
Thank you, Daniel.
And thanks for watching. Do make sure to keep clicking back on the Dukascopy TV website for latest updates and exclusive interviews. Have a great day and see you next time.